Hello friends, let me take you back to a chilling afternoon that stunned the entire world. It was the 21st of March, 2022, at exactly 1:11 in the afternoon when Flight MU-5735 of China Eastern Airlines took off from the city of Kunming. For the passengers inside, it was supposed to be a routine 2-hour journey to Guangzhou, a city in southeast China. Families, professionals, ordinary travelers, all of them, had no idea that this flight would never reach its destination. For the first hour, everything was normal. The aircraft, a Boeing 737-800, climbed smoothly and maintained its cruising altitude of around 29,000 feet. But then, just after 2:20 p.m., the nightmare began. The plane suddenly started plummeting down at an unimaginable speed. Usually, when planes face technical issues or even engine failures, they descend in a controlled glide. Thousands of feet per minute, but still under some level of control. But this was something the world had rarely seen before. Within barely 1.5 minutes, the jet dropped almost 30,000 feet. That speed wasn't the descent of a malfunctioning aircraft, it was the fall of a rock, a vertical plunge. Imagine this, the speed at which professional skydivers jump out of planes. That's what a huge passenger jet with over 100 lives on board was hurtling down at. Witnesses from far away captured the horrifying sight. The plane wasn't gliding, it wasn't banking, it was nose diving straight towards the ground. In less than 2 minutes, the plane crashed into the hills of Guangxi province. And with that, silence fell. There were no survivors. China had just witnessed one of its worst air disasters in modern history. The initial confirmation came quickly from Chinese authorities. A Boeing 737-800 had crashed. But the reason behind it, that was the terrifying mystery. Aviation experts around the globe were stunned. Air crash investigators pored over the details, but even the initial flight data left them confused. Take a look at the chart from Flightradar24. At first, it shows the plane's smooth climb, the steady line of its cruise altitude. Then, like a cliff edge, it plunges straight down. But strangely, at about 8,000 feet, there's a tiny blip. The plane briefly climbed again before crashing for good. That short ascent has baffled experts. Was it a final desperate attempt by the pilots to save the aircraft? Or was something else going on inside the cockpit? Speculation ran wild. Could it have been a technical malfunction? Did one of the engines fail? Was it pilot suicide? Could a terrorist have taken control? Or perhaps the pilots were incapacitated? Some even suggested weather issues, but the official meteorological data from that day showed nothing unusual. Clear skies, normal winds, and visibility over 10 miles. No storm, no lightning, no turbulence. The weather was not to blame. Search and rescue teams rushed to the site, but they faced brutal conditions. Heavy rain slowed down their efforts, and the crash site itself was in dense forested hills, making every step dangerous. Normally, the flight data recorders known as the black boxes are built to survive extreme impacts. But this crash was so violent that investigators worried they might not recover any intact evidence. Days later, one black box was finally found, damaged from the outside but reportedly still holding crucial data. It was sent immediately to Beijing for analysis. Still, the mystery deepened. Aviation experts like Neil Hansford bluntly said that the chances of this crash being an accident were very low. He compared it to the Air France 447 crash in 2009, where a technical failure confused the pilots, causing the aircraft to slowly descend into the ocean. But here, in China, there was nothing slow about it. The plane fell like a stone, and that simply doesn't happen without a deliberate act or catastrophic event. Some even speculated about both wings being torn off or a missile strike, but no evidence supported those theories. Which leaves the most chilling possibility that someone inside the cockpit wanted this to happen. And aviation history sadly provides precedent. Egyptair Flight 990 in 1999, Silkair Flight 185 in 1997 both ended in nosedives eerily similar to what happened here. And in both cases, investigators concluded that the pilots had intentionally crashed the planes. Could Flight MU-5735 be another dark chapter of the same kind? Before we go deeper, let me pause for just a moment. Stories like this are haunting, but they also reveal truths we rarely think about. If you want to uncover more hidden stories, shocking mysteries, and detailed breakdowns like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. As speculation continued, fingers began to point towards Boeing itself. After all, the company had been at the center of massive controversy in recent years. The crash of Lion Air Flight 610 in 2018 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in 2019, both involving the Boeing 737 MAX model, had shaken global confidence in the brand. In those cases, the culprit was a flawed software system known as MCAS, which forced the nose of the aircraft down because of faulty sensor readings. Pilots were not properly trained for the system, and Boeing later faced lawsuits, fines, and global grounding of the 737 MAX fleet. So when news broke that this crash in China involved a Boeing 737, people immediately feared it was another Boeing design flaw. But soon it was clarified this wasn't the controversial 737 MAX, it was the older and widely trusted 737-800 model. A workhorse of the skies, for decades, airlines around the world have used this aircraft safely. In fact, statistically speaking, the 737-800 has one of the lowest crash rates in history. That only deepened the mystery, if not weather, if not a design flaw, and if not a slow mechanical failure, what was left? Investigators began leaning heavily toward deliberate action. Experts like Michael Daniel, a U.S. aviation investigator, bluntly said it was most likely foul play. Someone inside had intentionally forced the jet into that nosedive. And this wasn't just speculation, it was a theory supported by precedent. He pointed again to Egyptair 990 and Silkair 185, both of which ended in intentional crashes. At the same time, conspiracy theories began to flood Chinese social media. Some users linked the crash to international politics, claiming the United States might have been involved as retaliation for China's stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Others spun wild ideas about sabotage or secret technology. But just like with Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, whenever the truth remains unclear, conspiracy theories rush to fill the void. Yet aviation statistics paint a reassuring picture. For anyone now afraid of flying, the truth is that airplanes are still among the safest modes of transport ever created. The Boeing 737-800 series, for example, records only about 0.07 crashes per million flights. Think about that, one crash for every 14 million journeys. Airbus's popular A300 model has a higher rate of about 0.46 crashes per million flights, and the Airbus A310 sits at 1.35 per million. But still, these numbers show that crashes are exceptionally rare. And in today's world, most happen because of either deliberate human action or unusual technical issues, not storms, not hijackings, and not random bad luck. This is why the MU-5735 tragedy feels so chilling. The more investigators look into it, the more it appears this was no accident. A trusted plane, clear skies, no distress call, no evidence of fire or explosion, and that terrifying vertical descent. Every sign points toward a deliberate act. If that is true, the haunting question remains, why would a pilot entrusted with so many lives do such a thing? Was it personal struggle, pressure from outside? Or something we may never know? Disasters like this remind us not only of the fragility of human life, but also of the secrets we may never fully uncover. Behind every black box lies the truth, but sometimes even those truths are too dark for us to accept. And now I want to hear from you. What do you think really happened to Flight MU-5735? Was it a tragic accident, a hidden technical fault, or something far more deliberate? Share your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll be reading every single one.